She didn't plan it, she wasn't chasing it, and she definitely wasn't trying to disrupt anyone's life. But when she walked into the room, something happened. Not loud, not obvious, but deep. Something in her presence shifted the atmosphere. Not just for anyone, but for a man who already belonged to another woman. He was stable, settled, married, yet something in his inner world cracked open the moment she appeared. He didn't even know her yet, but his body responded before his mind could catch up. Not out of lust, not out of curiosity, but out of a strange, unexplainable recognition. She didn't touch him, she didn't even speak to him in a way others would notice. But her energy entered quietly, like a key turning in a lock he didn't even know was there. It wasn't her beauty, it wasn't her body, it was something deeper, something older, something sacred. It was the way she stood in herself, calm, whole, untouched by the need to be wanted. He felt it, that inner movement, that quiet shift, the discomfort of feeling truly seen without being asked to perform, because she didn't want anything from him, not his approval, not his validation, not his attention, and that made her unforgettable. Her energy didn't speak to his ego, it spoke to the part of him he buried under expectations, under routine, under the performance of being a good husband, a good man, a reliable protector. And in that moment, she became more than a woman. She became a reflection, a mirror to the man he once was, and the man he could have been. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious shapes our lives in ways we rarely understand, that what we repress doesn't disappear. It waits for symbols, encounters, people, triggers, and sometimes it waits for a woman who walks into your life with the exact energy you've denied in yourself, a woman who, by simply being, activates what you've forgotten, buried, or run from. She didn't ask for that role. She didn't plan to carry that charge. But something in her nature, something intuitive and radiant, touches the soul of a man whose life became too quiet inside. She didn't seduce him, she stirred him, and that's even more dangerous, because seduction fades, but awakening lingers. Once you've felt yourself wake up in the presence of another soul, you can't unfeel it, you can't explain it either. That's why he struggles. That's why he stays awake at night. He isn't thinking about her lips or her skin. He's haunted by the way he felt around her. He remembers how time slowed, how the noise of life went quiet, how his heart did something strange in his chest, something he hadn't felt in years. That's what feminine energy does when it's unfiltered. It enters the unconscious like a whisper and becomes a roar that never leaves. It's not about the man, it's not even about attraction, it's about activation. Her presence activated the part of him that never got to grow, the boy who wanted more, the man who wanted meaning, the lover who wanted to be free. And here she is, walking in her own rhythm, not trying to be chosen, not trying to replace anyone, just being. The way she carries silence feels louder than words. The way she looks at life feels like poetry. She's not perfect, but she's alive, and he feels that aliveness when she's near. She becomes the reminder of everything he never dared to claim, and now he's stuck, because he knows he can't have her, not in the way he wants, not without blowing up everything he's built. But she left a mark, not in his calendar, in his soul, because when a man encounters a woman who holds the kind of energy that speaks to his repressed truth, his nervous system remembers, his heart responds, and his thoughts spiral. And the hardest part, she doesn't even realize the depth of what she's carrying. She may doubt herself, she may think it's something wrong, she may even try to suppress it, dim it, explain it away. But feminine energy, true, embodied, intuitive energy, doesn't ask for permission to be felt, it just moves, and those who are not rooted in themselves will always be shaken by it. He can't forget her because she didn't try to be remembered. She wasn't performing, she wasn't playing a role, she wasn't trying to be the one, she simply showed up as herself. And that, to a man who hasn't seen authenticity in years, is unforgettable. He may return to his home, he may act as if nothing happened, but inside, something changed. Because now he knows that something else exists, that there's a different way to feel, that there's a kind of connection that doesn't come from years or vows, but from alignment. He may try to suppress it, he may call it a moment of weakness, he may pray it goes away, but the soul doesn't forget what touched it. The soul keeps score in a different language, and in that language, she's still speaking. She doesn't have to do anything else. She doesn't need to explain herself. She doesn't need to prove her worth, because what he felt in her presence wasn't just attraction, it was recognition, a recognition of something ancient, something sacred, something forgotten. And while he may never act on it, he will carry her with him, not as a secret, but as a question that wakes him up at night, a question that lingers in quiet moments, a question that no one else in his life is able to answer. Who was I before I became who I'm supposed to be? What would my life feel like if I were truly awake? Why did she, a woman I barely know, make me feel more alive than anyone else ever has? That is the power of feminine energy that is anchored, not anxious. That is the imprint of a woman who leads, with presence, not performance. That is the kind of energy that awakens men, not seduces them. It is the kind of presence that makes even the most committed man rethink everything he once believed was enough, because she doesn't ask to be remembered. She just becomes impossible to forget. If this message speaks to you, it's because something inside is ready to awaken. The Jung method is where that journey begins. The link is in the first comment. There is something deeply sacred about being a woman who unintentionally awakens a man's soul. But let's talk about you now, because while much of the world focuses on him, his confusion, his desire, his inability to forget, no one stops to ask what it's like to be her, the woman with the energy, the one who becomes unforgettable. Being that woman is not easy. You didn't ask to be desired by someone who isn't free. You didn't plan to activate parts of him that even he didn't know existed. And yet, you find yourself carrying the emotional residue of something unfinished, something that never got the chance to become what it could have been. And that can feel heavy, because your energy didn't just pass through. It stirred the waters, it touched his soul. Yes, but it also awakened questions inside of you. Questions about your worth, your energy, your presence. What does it mean to have that kind of power? Why does it feel both sacred and painful at the same time? And how do you move forward when someone is emotionally bound to you, but physically unavailable? Let's go deeper. Your feminine energy is not about seduction, it's about remembrance. It reminds others of something essential they've forgotten. But it also reminds you. When a married man becomes magnetized to your presence, it can trigger something complex inside of you. You may start to feel like you're the problem, like you've done something wrong just by being yourself, like your energy has become dangerous. But the truth is, your energy is not the danger. Your energy is the mirror, and people fear mirrors when they don't want to see what's inside them. What happened between you two, even if nothing physical ever occurred, was real on an energetic level. And energetic bonds, especially those charged with awakening and longing, are not easily forgotten. Not by him, and not by you. You may try to cut it off. You may try to distance yourself, silence the emotion, rationalize it away. But if you're honest with yourself, you know that a part of you still feels him, even when he's not around, even when he's with someone else, even when you tell yourself you've moved on. Because what happened between you wasn't about logic. It wasn't about a future plan or an outcome. It was about resonance. Two souls brushing up against one another and recognizing a frequency they hadn't heard in years. But now, you must return to yourself. You are not here to carry the emotional burden of a man who cannot choose himself. You are not here to be the pause between his patterns. You are not here to be a symbol of what he could have, while he continues to live a life that denies it. You are here to embody your own truth, to remember the power you hold, to reclaim your energy from spaces that do not honor its presence. Yes, he may never forget you, but you cannot stay attached to the version of him that was only ever activated by your light. You are not a fantasy. You are not a whisper in someone else's marriage. You are a woman who carries presence, a woman whose essence is so alive that it wakes others up, and that gift is sacred. But sacredness doesn't mean sacrifice. Your purpose is not to be the catalyst for others while abandoning yourself in the process. So now, it's time to ask the harder questions. What was it in him that pulled you in? What part of your own story felt reflected in his presence? Were you longing to be chosen by someone who couldn't even choose themselves? Were you seeing him, or were you seeing a part of yourself that still craves emotional recognition? These are the questions that Jung would have you explore. Because in every attraction, there is a reflection. And the moment you become unforgettable to someone else, it often means they have become a symbol of something hidden in you. So go inward. That man who couldn't forget you, he was never just a man. He was a symbol, a message from the unconscious, a reflection of what you are waking up to inside yourself. Maybe it's time to stop waiting for him to return. Maybe it's time to stop checking for signs that he's still thinking of you. Because deep down you already know he is. The real question is, are you still thinking of him because he's your destiny? Or because part of you still believes you are only worthy when you are remembered? You are not here to haunt the minds of men. You are here to stand fully in your presence and let the world rearrange itself around that truth. When you stop needing to be unforgettable to others, you become unforgettable to yourself, and in that shift, the energy that once caused you pain transforms into clarity. The next time you feel the weight of being remembered, breathe. Not every man who feels you is meant to hold you. Not every energetic bond is meant to become a relationship. Some are meant to awaken you to what you've been withholding from yourself. Your voice, your intuition, your magnetism, your softness, your fire. The way he looked at you, it wasn't about who he is. It was about what he saw in you. And the way you responded, it wasn't about him. It was about the part of you that's finally ready to stop waiting. Because the truth is, you are not waiting for a married man to become free. You are waiting for yourself to become fully claimed by your own energy, fully anchored, fully clear. Let this be your turning point. Let this be the moment you stop wondering why he can't forget you, and start asking how you can finally remember yourself. The kind of feminine energy that shakes. A man's soul is not looking for validation. It is looking for alignment, and once you step into that alignment, something changes. You no longer crave attention from men who live half-truths. You no longer shrink to become palatable. You no longer doubt your own presence just because it makes others uncomfortable. You become the woman who is unforgettable to herself. You are not here to awaken men who cannot stay awake. You are here to be fully alive. And that life, your full life, will always be more powerful than being a beautiful memory in someone else's brokeness. So bless him for what he reflected, but release him from what he cannot become, because the energy he felt in you was never about you fixing him. It was about you finally seeing yourself through the eyes of your own becoming. That is the real awakening. That is what he will never understand. And that is what will make you forever unforgettable.